Okay, so this is the woman. So that's not her photo. That's taken from a public archive. Calling her Shirley, 3 years apart. And you can see, for one, she doesn't have the peak is kind of widening. And some people have talked about the widening of the alpha. It's kind of wide even 3 years ago. So there's some issues, maybe the widening showing this getting some cognitive deficit, because you can think the sharper the peak is, in essence, the more the bell-shaped curve and sharp bell-shaped curve it is, the more it's one mechanism. When you have a widening, it's multiplicity of mechanisms. It's competition in terms of the systems. And that timing dysrhythmia is a sign of something going wrong. And so you can see how the red is actually faster than the blue, because she's declining in speed in all these areas. And another way to look at it is what we call dominant frequency tests, dominant frequency tables, and you can see the decline in almost every area. Not every area, like that one looked speed up, but not most areas are lost 1 hertz at least, and that's a very severe drop to be doing in 3 years' time. Okay, so let's look at the regional view, and that's the map I just showed you a moment ago. The spectral plots was this one here. All right, so this shows you how theta unity is a very reliable measure. That's 3 years apart, and they almost look identical, but you start seeing we don't want orange or yellow in this in what's called theta unity in this map, and we're getting it in the auditory systems, and the auditory systems are right on top of the hippocampus. The temporal lobe, they're part of the superior gyrus of the temporal lobe, and the right side usually deals with emotional processing. And one of the things we have seen in the Alzheimer's is they have auditory issues often because temporal lobe issues, and they also have what we'll see in what's called area 6 problems. All right, so now let's go to the back of the head. And same kind of thing going on here. You see a little bit of the slowing there. You can see the difference, blues setback. The width itself is also a problem. But I don't know if the width, we haven't really been trying to see if we can narrow the width. There would be ways. We have something we call corticality training, which would work on the width nowadays, but we're just starting to learn how effective it is. Now you can see the similarity of these two maps in the 3 years. Some more issues going on here. This is 19R. That's where you deal with visual complexity, social complexity. Walk into an environment where people are there, and when you get something orange or yellow, that means they're going to be letting their subcortex process that information. Going to get more relational, which means it's going to be inefficient. They're going to be overreacting to things. They walk into a Starbucks, instead of just doing what they planned to do, they get all nervous because there's people everywhere. What should I do with these people? Thinking how they're perceiving me, and like, of course, you just got to do your action. And you see 21L. Now 21L we worry about. The 21s have to deal with how we interact with others. Do we include them or exclude them in our thinking? Do we orient against or pull them in and make them part of our team? Do we say we when we're talking about things, or you when we think about them as external from us? And usually when it's yellow, they're going to be more externalizing, more orienting against. Still had problems, always had problems in 7. That may be why, that's a distractibility marker. That may be why she was going to be brought in for therapy initially in 2017 was for that issue. All right, here we got the 6s, and we do see the 6 problem in other people who have the diagnostic who do show Alzheimer's, follow the criteria. 6L usually is a big problem. It's actually here getting a little bit better, but you can see 6s have to deal with our social boundaries, how intrusive we are with others, how much we represent our sense of self using them as part of us. And you can see the auditory cortex is very severe in this view. This is now the auditory cortex where we pull out area 22 in the previous view. 22 was included in that view, that regional view. So orange is very severe. Orange means in essence that the primitive system, like the hippocampus, is controlling that tissue pretty much. The tissue is transparent. It's not altering, neocortex is not altering the impulses coming from below. All right, now we get the front of the head. In the front of the head, we can see 38s. We see the 38s. That means the temporal lobe is letting the amygdala through. The amygdala is governed by the frontal lobe, but mostly you can think of the temporal poles in the orbital frontal cortex are governing our fight and flight response system called the amygdala. and it's also involved in emotion and other things that the amygdala does. And when it's orange, it means that primitive system is just allowed to sort of pass through. Its impulses just pass right through, and the temple is not altering it, not repurposing it to more goal-directed thoughts. And the right side is typically more the rage amygdala, and the left side is the anxiety amygdala. You probably have both of those. You got area 9 that deals with sleep onset issues and social fairness and evaluating what the meaning of a stimulus. And then you got the interior singlets of blue, and the blue, is where more thought is going. Sometimes it's a sign of more emotional pain, physical pain. Sometimes it's just monitoring of consequences. Probably some emotional pain because the person is no longer living the life that their narrative is in control. Our self-narrative is finalized in our 38s. 38R in particular is the, and most people like the autobiographical sense of self, and now it's been stripped down. It was stripped down 3 years ago. The person was probably showing signs early on. That's why they were coming in for neurotherapy. And now they're going to go through neurotherapy right now. Now they got the new map. Okay, so that's one case. And what we do is we use default network training. Typically we use BioExplorer because it's a very good device. It allows us to do all these forms of training that we use. Biomodulation, which I call alignment training, with alpha theta activity. Co-modulation is getting the what we call the alpha activity coordinated between brain areas, getting activity. Magnitude is increasing or deactivating or activating an area. Corticality is improving that alpha activity, the alpha peak, and the narrowing of it. And the harmony is another way we started working on that to help balance the brain activity. And that's the system we use. And this is the system. People are watching movies. They don't know what's going on. They're not seeing this. We're seeing this to control what we do, so they get rewarded from the movies in a way based on if they're giving us the activity we want or not. Here's another individual, Belina, who is and probably likely Alzheimer onset, and this is from about 30 hours of training. And you can see the pink, the purplish color is the previous spectral plot, and you can see how the alpha peak came through very nicely after 30 hours in about half the areas. Still got work to be done, but you can see, and that's what we want. In an eyes closed resting condition, we want to see that alpha peak dominating if we can. We don't want that low frequency. Here's another case. This is a good one because this one went through a bunch of the training I just mentioned, biomodulation, co-modulation, started doing the corticality training. And this person went from having on 8.5 hertz peaks and being very asocial. And you can see that the red is the previous view. And now got up to 10, because we said when you are going slower, you seem to have more egocentrism. You have more problems. And when you hit 10, you're more group-minded. Get up to the consensual speed, the general speed of the adults, you're more social. And that's exactly what happened in her case, where we do training, increase the speeds to the 10.25 rate approximately in most areas. You see the bell-shaped curve is pretty narrow still, so that's a healthy sign. Getting some widening here, but up in the front, but most of it's pretty narrow. And this person has gotten very social and very happy and been very feel very fortunate, and her family members have been saying how well she's responding. And this is the data here. You compare it to a normative group, and you see that deficit of this range, blue, and then it's now normalizing there. And this is the theta unit. There's still work to be done. There's still work to be done on her. She was very asocial, and now you can see someone in orange. Still working on these dorsolateral areas, but we're getting some improvement here. And there's other parts of our brain we're looking at. But here you can see the rates change, getting close to that 10.25. You can see right there, boom, hitting 10.25 right there. On the last slide, I'm just showing a lot of these pictures are, almost all the pictures are not generated from the software, are being taken from either Google or the various public domain areas. So that's why these photos are never of the people. They're from some stock photos. And more information can be found at our website, kaiserneuromap.com. All right, and we'll be back with a new video soon.